Especially when it comes to sexuality, when parents aren't discussing things or normalizing things, it can feel secret.
I always raised my girls with the comment, knowledge is power.
I think we've learned that shame is actually more harmful than it is good.
Well, what I heard from a parent, we don't talk about things like that because they don't need to know it yet.
Sometimes we're afraid to talk about things that might give them ideas or make them more curious about something.
The first class was so awkward for the kids. You had such an ability to break that awkwardness.
If we only wait for their questions, there'll be a number of things you never discuss as a family.
Welcome to Done Pretending, the podcast where healing meets authentic living. I am your host, Susan Houston, storyteller, mentor, and believer in the power of truth to set us free. This is your sanctuary for the soul, a safe space where we peel back the layers of judgment and fear to uncover the beauty of living real. Each week, you'll hear stories of courage, resilience, and transformation that remind you it's never too late to become who you were created to be. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Done Pretending. I am Susan Houston, your host, and today I have the privilege of interviewing someone that I met, oh my goodness, probably 12, 13 years ago. Jen Elledge. She is the founder of the Talk Institute. She has been doing this over 20 years and is a renowned sex educator and speaker. And she helps parents and young people talk about, all these things that we don't want to talk to our kids about, that it's awkward. She makes it easy. She helps you build healthy relationships and honest relationships about sexuality and growing up together. And I have to tell you, I took both of my girls through her program, and I always raised my girls with the comment, knowledge is power. And this was so impactful for them. And I have to tell you, Jen, that even now they're 28 and 25. They still are like, oh, yeah, I remember when we went through that, but it really did help, and then they could answer questions to their friends too.
Hmm.
So welcome.
Thank you.
I am so glad you're here.
Yeah.
You had a blog post recently
Mm.
that caught my attention because it talked a lot about shame, which is what we talk about, things that we faced in our lives. And you addressed it towards parents and kids. And I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, shame really shows up in parenting a lot. A lot of us were shamed when we were kids, it was a way to kind of get us to behave or act a certain way and things like that.
Yeah.
And, I think we do what we know. I think we've learned that shame is actually more harmful than it is good. Sometimes you might get the behavior change that you're looking for in the moment, but I think later on, the effects of shame, they're so profound and they're not good. They're not healthy, and there's better ways to handle things, so I thought,
Yeah.
yeah.
What effects have you seen that shame can cause?
Oh gosh. Well, when it shows up for kids, they stop talking to us. That's a
Mm,
big thing. They shut down. They start to have feelings like they're not good. And when you have a feeling that you're not good, why do good things?
right,
Right? And
right.
that's not a good way to have a society, right? And it's not a value we want at somebody's core, right? Of their being. So it's
Yeah.
important that we aren't so secretive about things, because secrecy is what really drives shame.
That's interesting. I've never heard it said like that, but I think you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. It thrives in when there's no information and things are secret. That's when you can see it thrive the most. Yeah.
Do you think that's because we decide things that aren't necessarily true? That, if things are secret and you don't have anybody to talk to about it, you make up your own scenarios.
Sure. Yeah, the mind's a scary place sometimes, what we can create
Yeah.
there and what we might make something mean, or even the lack of talking about something as something. When, especially when it comes to sexuality, when parents aren't discussing things or normalizing things, it can feel secret. And
Mhm.
that I think it comes from a place where parents are trying to be protective and really actually really care about their kids. So they think that there's this belief that they're keeping them innocent. They're keeping them, I don't know, from, like, being like, giving them ideas. That's what it is. So sometimes we're afraid to talk about things that might give them ideas or make them more curious about something. So there's if you have that belief, it affects your parenting and what you'll share with your kids, and that can be a problem when it comes to this subject. Yeah.
Well, what I heard from a parent who is close to my family, another outside my family,
Yeah.
was we don't talk about things like that because they don't need to know it yet. I want them to enjoy their childhood as long as they can. And what I used to say is, yeah, but they're exposed
Yeah.
to all of this, not
Yeah.
the right information. And I remember you talked a lot about that during the program.
Kids need to have the language around this, and if we're not talking about it, that sets them up like it's a perfect recipe for a predator.
Yes.
They love that, and I can't think of something that would still innocence faster than sexual abuse, right? And
Yeah.
here we are, like, trying to keep them young. "Oh, I don't want 'em to worry about this adult stuff." Well, you're right. They don't need to have everything right now. Right? But they need to
Right.
have some information about their body, the correct names. They need to have bodily autonomy, feel like
Mm.
it's a yes or no to touch. And these are things that, like, I think the sexual health umbrella, it just sounds so scary, right? And there's so much other stuff under it. It's like you're teaching about touch, and consent. You're talking about relationships and what they look and should feel like, right? You
Mm.
should love. Like, it's so much more than just the mechanics, and I think it's such a disservice that it gets all lumped together, right? And it feels so scary, right? It just feels so sc
Well, it's scary for a parent. I remember as my kids were growing up, even though I lived by knowledge is power, it was still awkward, and we were pretty open with our kids, not overly open, but yet we didn't avoid questions or answers if they asked questions, I should say.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
So,
that's a great place to be at. I guess the next step from that would be it's good to bring things up because the kids aren't gonna have questions about everything they're gonna need to know because 'cause they're not thinking about those things. It's not in their wheelhouse yet, right?
yeah,
As a
yeah,
parent, we're looking, down the road and we can see, "Oh, this is coming soon," or they're gonna, be going off to college, so we need to have this chat or whatever. Kids aren't there. They're not thinking about those things. So if we only wait for their questions, there'll be a number of things you never discuss as a family, right? That's what I think is kinda nice about the talk is it really makes you do it. It makes you sit down and have those conversations, and they're guided, so they're not so scary, and I think what's kind of interesting and we're there for our kids, but the amount of modeling that's going on that parents are absorbing from seeing somebody with the comfort of 20 years talking about this behind them, it really gives confidence to parents too, and so I think that's what's really beautiful, and I
it
think
did.
that
Mhm.
what's lacking because we weren't modeled this. Our parents
No.
didn't get this right. So, of course, it's hard for us and it's still awkward, but we want better for our kids. We want to be better so our kids are better.
And I think you're so right in that we have to find the opportunities to talk to them.
Yeah.
What was so great too about going through the program was one, it was a mix of boys and girls and their parents, which I remember,
Oh,
the first class was so awkward for the kids. But you had such an ability to break that awkwardness and make them feel comfortable
mm,
that as a parent sitting back, and the parents are very participatory too. I can't say that word. They participate a lot, but
yeah.
it was fascinating just to watch the kids get real, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
we need those chances and opportunities, and it's something they never forget. It's just something like
Yeah.
they do forget what I said, like, don't get me wrong, 'cause when we play games, sometimes I'm like, "No, that's not right." But what they remember is the way it made them feel to be open, to be honest, to have others learning the same stuff with them at the same time, right? With a friend or with a parent. And I think that's the beautiful part is it creates community too, which is great. But do you want to go back to shame because that's more important for
Yeah,
this.
sorry.
Shame is such a feeling that I think parents we've all used in some way, shape, or form, and it feels so natural, right? It feels so natural because it feels
Mhm.
protective. It
Mhm.
feels so protective. And we just have to be really cautious because there's so many different ways it shows up with the topic I teach, but there's definitely things that like parents can do like today, right? That can help them just be better at this, okay, I guess. So like one thing is just to listen more than they talk, right? I think a
Mm.
lot of times we go into, parent mode where we want to like instill value or like teach them something. And I'm so guilty of this as a teacher myself, right? So I have to watch this myself. But we really need to listen more and we need to be better at asking questions that open our kids up. Okay. That's really what creates connection too, right? The connection is what is the protective factor for kids that are connected to a caring adult, hopefully a parent, but if not, at least, someone who's, you know, cares about them and loves them, right?
Mhm.
It's a protective factor for everything. I always talk about that. And, I think that's kind of what's unique about what I do too. Last time I'll go to this is that there's not a lot of times where you learn with your child. There's not a lot of programs that are set up that way. Or, usually you send your child somewhere or you go to a parenting class, but there aren't a lot of opportunities where you're like guided through a conversation, right?
Mhm.
So it,
Mhm.
it really is so unique. And I hope that if people don't experience it that way, that they at least have some of these talks, and they should be small talks, right? I call my program the talk because it's just a phrase people are familiar with when it comes to puberty
Yeah,
growing up, but should never ever be one talk. And even in my program, it's a series. It's 4
right.
sessions, right? It's 4 classes, and that feels like a lot. It's really not. It's really
Right.
foundation. There's still more to talk about, and hopefully, like, people are talking about these in littler bites, smaller bites, right? Like little
Mhm.
conversations as things are happening in their life, teachable moments, right? Like I don't know, maybe something happens at school, something, is in the news, something you're watching on TV, there's something going on in the family or a neighbor, whatever. These are all like organic, natural things happening that we can use to our benefit, right? And
Yeah.
so I think being aware of that too and more intentional on your parenting when it comes to
Mhm.
like creating some of that, because you do, again, have to, or they don't happen. Let's face it, right?
If this episode hits something for you, don't keep it to yourself. Follow me and follow the show so you don't miss what's next. Leave a comment because I actually do read them and share this with someone who needs to hear it, even if they don't know it yet.
It doesn't happen.
But it's
We
it's
get
so much
busy.
more natural to do that in the moment with your kids, and
Yes, and it
like you
makes them
said, the little bites have just as much impact, if not more, than trying to sit down and have this huge discussion with them where they tune out after a few minutes anyway.
right. The other 2 big things I would say that parents could do that would be impactful is to
Mhm.
have a really good poker face.
Yeah.
Get your poker face down. You want when your kids are sharing to not look too concerned. This is a phrase you can take home, all right? So I think that when we're parenting, especially a teen, we need to lead with curiosity before concern, okay?
I love
Because
that.
we get so worried so fast, right? We're like, "Why are you asking that question? Who needs to know? I told you not to hang out with those boys down the street," right? Like now they're in trouble because they had a question that, is probably pretty innocent, right? And it
Mhm.
shuts down communication really quickly. So having a good poker face and watching your tone. Your
Mm.
tone is so important, and your kids know your tones, and we use it, right? I mean, let's face it, like when we're done with them asking us something, we use a different tone, don't we? I said no. Quit asking. Right? We got a little louder, we use our tone. So it is a tool, but our kids also, read our face, body language. They're looking at us. They can tell if we're uncomfortable or worried or judging them. They might feel
Hmm.
judged even though we're, feeling some other way, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
having a really good neutral face, I think, is such a powerful, underrated thing that, like, you can really get that down. Or if you wanna talk about something that you're afraid of having a lot of reaction to, don't let them don't face them. Like, do it in the car, right? They're
I
next to you.
remember you told us that, and I use that so often.
Yeah, they're in the back seat, they can't see you lose it your face and the emotion on your face and what you're feeling, right?
Or the little bead of sweat going down, like,
They're not gonna see it, right? Exactly, they're not gonna see it. So, and your tone, you wanna sound curious. So again, sound curious in your tone versus concerned, because what do you think that means? Sounds very different than, "Oh, what do you think that is?" Right? The tone is very different. One is very inviting and open, like, curious, like, I wanna know what you think," or, "I need a minute to know what I'm gonna say, so I'm gonna ask you what you know first," which is a really good parenting tip too.
yeah, actually, that's brilliant.
Yeah. What do you think it is, right? But and also, I think it goes a long way to praise our kids when they do talk to us. And just take
I
a
agree.
moment to say, "Thank you for telling me. Thank you for coming to me. I know that must have been really hard to share that." Or, "I love when you come to me with your questions," right? Like, encourage the behavior you want them to do more.
Mhm.
Right? We want them to be close to us, and in order to keep that closeness, right, we have to be open. It doesn't happen in a secretive, shameful environment. It can't. It can't, because it breaks down communication when we feel shame. So, I think it's so important. Just those little things are so powerful if you can just remember that can really change your communication at home, for sure.
I love that, Jen. Such great wisdom. Oh my goodness.
20 years, yeah.
You have a daughter yourself, right?
A son, I have a
A
son.
son.
Yes, he recently turned 7, so we're coming up on some bigger conversations pretty soon here, but yeah, I mean, he knows all his parts and, we've talked about, consent and, like, touch
Mhm.
and like that. Books are a great way to have those talks too if you don't know where to start. Some really good books out there that you can read together and things too. People are looking to get started on that talk, not don't know where to start, right? Because
Yeah.
we weren't taught,
Yeah.
right? So we need a little more guidance sometimes, and that's okay. I think that really helps to do that.
What are the results that you've seen from the kids that you've helped or the parents that you've helped? Do you ever get to circle back around with them?
Oh my gosh, I've done entire families, it's so cool. So, like, I've done both your daughters,
Yeah.
both taken the class. I've done families of 5, 4, like, they're off getting married and in college and stuff now, so it makes me feel a little old, but I definitely have a great word of mouth because it's so powerful. I think that
Mhm.
this program, it's so unique and it's so beneficial for families that, like, they really feel it years later, like, when it matters, like, it's some maybe not in all, like, really huge, crazy ways, but in subtle ways where, maybe you have a few more conversations with someone who didn't take the class or it wouldn't have happened. Those conversations wouldn't have happened if you didn't have a framework like this of, like, practice. Because talking's a skill, and we forget that. Like, we forget, like, it takes practice to talk,
It
especially
does.
awkward things, embarrassing things that, we're as a society are kinda quiet about, right? So we've
Mhm.
already learned that. So it takes some practice to talk about it, and I think that's the other thing the program makes you do. Like, there's so many times where there's one-on-one conversations happening, right? We even within the group environment, we come back and we talk together, like, "What'd you guys talk about?" And share something that was really powerful that, your parent shared with you or, "Parents, what do you think? What advice do you have for kids?" There's moments where I'm creating moments for you to talk and practice real life time, so it happens, right?
Well, I think that's key. And, even the parent of adult kids now, which is the chapter that I'm in, it takes practice. Now that they're both married, they're off doing their own thing.
Mhm.
We have a puppy in the house that is my daughter's and my daughter-in-law's, and I find myself wanting to give all the advice on what they're doing wrong, and it's like, I have forced myself to take a step back and be more they need to try
Right.
and wait for them to open the conversation where I can say, "Maybe instead of this, you should try this." And so, yeah, it still takes practice.
It does, right, walking him through choices and things,
Mhm,
options. Yeah,
mhm.
absolutely. Like, even with my son, like, trying to create routines when he comes home, instead of telling him, "Wash your hands, take off your shoes, put your backpack over here," instead I'm saying, "Okay, we just got home, what do we do first?" And, like,
Mhm.
let them kind of guide it, so, "Okay, we got a new dog, what do we need?"
Yeah. Even for your son, it teaches them problem solving, which I think has really escaped a lot of this generation.
Yes, rings are lazy, and it's not getting any better with
Oh
AI.
my gosh.
They're
Well,
getting
Jen,
really
this is wonderful. Tell people how to get a hold of you, and then we will also put this in the show notes.
okay, yeah, you can reach me at my website at thetalkinstitute.com, or I also am on Instagram at the Talk Institute. So either way.
Yeah. Well, I have said this. I was one of your biggest advocates after I went through the program. And I just think it should be even if it's an optional class that parents have to join outside of the school curriculum, I just think it needs to be available everywhere.
Mhm.
And it's interesting the pushback that you get on that. I just can't believe that.
Yeah, some parents, again, it's driven by fear again, right?
Yeah.
It's fear-based parenting that if they learn about this, they're gonna wanna go do it.
Yeah.
It's seriously, it's that basic, and that
I can
belief.
tell you that when you showed the video of a live birth,
Uh-huh.
my girls are like, "Oh,
Oh, no.
no, absolutely not."
That was not the goal necessarily. I try to tell people don't make any big life decisions after this video, but but I think it's important that, it's a big deal. It's a big deal and that, it's part of it. So just being real candid about it, I think is the way to go. Yeah.
Well, I love how approachable you are too,
Oh,
which
thank you.
is makes the biggest difference in the connection with the kids that you get and how comfortable that they feel opening up. So
Mhm.
I sing your praises.
Oh, well, you're so sweet. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm
Aw.
so glad you're doing this. So many people are struggling with shame and just stuff that's happened
Mhm.
in their lives that still affect them today. And I just think it's great that you're trying to support people and reframe some of that for them too. And
Yeah.
speaking of let me give my little one-liner here for you. Reframing. So shame shows up, I think, when parents care deeply, but they don't feel equipped. So it's not a failure in our parenting, it's a skill gap.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
And, I've been doing a lot of neuroscience research as well. And, judgments happen to us as
Mm,
kids, maybe it can be from coaches or teachers or parents or whoever.
mhm.
But a lot of us turn that into this trauma in
Yeah.
our life. And what I'm learning is the way that the brain treats it, it's just something that you're taught.
Mhm.
If you are taught that judgment's going to happen, your brain automatically starts looking for it.
Mhm.
And it's the same with shame.
Mhm.
Well, if it was taught to you, it can be untaught. You can learn a different way.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely, and it is good too. We don't want a generation that feels that because we don't want the problems that come with that. Yeah,
no, 100% agree with you.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Jen. I will put everything in the show notes
Thank you.
and
It was fun.
Thank you, everyone who's here. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave them. And please hit the follow button and share this with all of your friends. I really feel that this is a message that needs to get out to everyone. We all know people who have been dealing with shame and trauma or shame and judgment and bias, and we can be a voice for them.
Mhm.
So until next time, thank you so much. Thank you for joining me on Done Pretending, where healing meets authentic living. If today's conversation moved you, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't yet, be sure to follow the show and leave a review. Your words help this message reach more hearts around the world. Remember, you are seen, you are loved, and your story has the power to set others free.